Ask yourself this question. If my life stayed the same, how would I feel? Would I feel good or would I feel bad? If you knew your life from now to the end of your life and nothing changed, would you continue to feel the same way you do? It's a very genuine question to ask yourself. Does your outer circumstances affect how you should feel? Or should you try to change the way you feel about your circumstances? In this video, I'm going to be talking about desire, how to change your life, how desire works, and how to fill the void that you may have, feeling like you lack purpose or feeling like you're missing just something in general, and how to transform your mental energy into something good if your life has been feeling like you can't get anything done. On this channel, I speak on letting go of the past so that you can get into the creative mode and creating the life that you want for yourself. I do this by applying ancient stories, paintings, symbols, and allegories to yourself on a very individual level. So sometimes it can feel like we're just going through the motions of everyday life. We're constantly on an autopilot mode where we're just repeating the same life we're going through and we're feeling the same exact way. Maybe we have the perfect life and we are not necessarily looking for anything to change externally, but we still feel this emptiness inside of us. Or we're constantly looking for more things to do, finding purpose, something. We're always on the lookout for something. And many times we wonder, maybe this something is outside. Maybe it's out there. I am missing something. So we constantly do things. We're trying to find something that we can never find. A lot of this is actually based off of mentality. You don't actually have to go out and do something all the time for you to feel fulfilled in your life. Many people go out and go on expensive trips or go to Mount Everest or things like this to get some kind of accomplishment or some kind of goal, and that's fine. That works, but not everybody has that opportunity, and that is not necessarily mandatory either. It's all about how you feel right now. So I'm going to explain desire, the desire to change, the desire to find purpose. All of these things are completely natural. We are born with a desire. We are inherently born to want things and to do things, to find purpose or whatever the thing may be that we want to do. It's not to say that desire is a bad thing, but desire is a paradox in itself, because to desire something means you do not have the thing you want. But everybody has desire. So it cannot be a bad thing because we all have it. And without desire, we wouldn't want to do anything. But the problem arises when we overemphasize what we do not have. So we are always looking for something externally. It is not selfish to have desires or to want something better for yourself. We all have different starting points in our desire. And I say this because people in very impoverished areas desire food or desire the very basic necessities. But now people in more fortunate countries desire more money or they desire different things. And that's completely fine. And this is because desire works in a way where we always are desiring something. It's like being thirsty and it's like being hungry. We have a natural desire to fulfill or satisfy our needs. Desire is a neutral thing. It's not good and it's not bad. It can be good and it can be bad. Now, desire starts here in the lower centers. So you'll see that this is the generative area. And this is where we get into creative mode. So this is the red chakra right here. This is known as the seat of desire. This is where our desires come from. They come from this lower center. And this does not make it evil in any kind of way. But the reason it's considered evil many times is because it's in this red center. And this is also known as the bottomless pit, because we can desire something, and this is where this empty void comes from, where we feel like we lack purpose. We lack some kind of something. Bottomless pit, this empty, dark abyss, where something needs to fill it. And so you're constantly looking for something. This is when it can be a bad thing, when the desire is unfulfilled, when your mind is focused on the lack of something. Desire does not have an end. It just keeps going until infinity. And this is the nature of it. What you must do is actually transform this feeling, because this desire must transform from this lower center to the higher center. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created or destroyed. So this means that this feeling that you have, this bottomless pit, this feeling like you must change something, that is not the problem itself. You must transform the energy. You must change it from one state into another. Because energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can only be transformed. For those of you who don't know, Scorpio is the zodiac sign that is all about transformation. It's all about transforming yourself into something better, or transforming your desire into something tangible. It's about death and rebirth. So here on this picture, you'll see that on the bottom, as I showed earlier, the red chakra is the bottom of the spine. Now the spine turned sideways looks like a scorpion's tail. And this is where the connection comes in. We must transform this energy from one state into another. We must bring it from the low state to a high state. If it's allowed to stay in this low state, then this is where we get to the point where we feel completely miserable, where we feel like we want things to change, but it never does. And even if things do change, we still feel the same way. Our external world can change, everything can change around us, but we stay exactly the same. If you continue to dwell in these lower centers, feeling miserable, feeling unfulfilled, then you descend even further. And this is where Satan's tail comes in symbolically. As you bring this energy up, we're talking about energy transformation, or how your mind works. Whenever I use the word energy, I'm talking about mental energy. This is something very simple to understand, because if you've ever thought about something really hard, you either get a headache or you get exhausted. So it is a form of energy to think about something. And now when we ruminate on something that we do not have, a lack of something, we get exhausted in much the same way, our mental energy. So as the energy continues to dwell in these lower centers and feeling miserable and feeling tired and exhausted, it continues to descend downwards, and it goes into like a spiral. And this is where you get Satan's tail. And this is why Satan is the color red, because it is associated with this energy center. Now, as this energy goes up, the spiral goes up and it's supposed to reach the top. And this is where your desire is fulfilled in your mind. And this is where you get the image of the staff of Hermes. So the energy is supposed to rise up, not downward. It's supposed to ascend and not descend. It's not supposed to descend into the depths of hell or the depths of the bottomless pit. And the reason I bring the law of thermodynamics into this is because Albert Einstein was actually a Rosicrucian. So he was part of this secret organization where they're very much into symbols, allegories, into manifestation, into the very essence of the creation of life itself, and the study of the substance of what makes things happen in this life, the fabric of existence itself. And so anytime he spoke about energy, he was talking about something physical. It can also be applied to yourself in much the same way. So you most likely know his famous equation, E equals mc squared. So E equals mc squared has a mystical application in which it tells you how to manifest something, or how to turn your mental energy into something real. E equals mc squared means energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. So if you've seen my other video, How to Think in Reverse, you can reverse this operation, and it turns into mass times the speed of light squared equals energy. The creation of matter actually comes from energy. Energy equals matter times the speed of light. So everything comes from energy, mental energy. All is mind, everything is mental. Matter and energy are interchangeable. They are connected. They are connected more so than we think. So you can have the best life you want. And maybe you've seen these people. You've seen many celebrities online who have everything they could ever want, but still feel unfulfilled, lacking purpose, lacking everything. So they may have lots of physical things. They're feeling like they're missing something. So you must fill this void as quickly as possible, because you will have a desire come up. It's inherent in all of us. But what we must do is actually fill this void before it consumes us. It's similar to eating or drinking, where when we're hungry, all we gotta do is eat. The only difference is with a mental void, we must fill it mentally. You cannot fill a mental void with something physical. It has to match. It's kind of like you cannot satisfy thirst with food. You cannot satisfy your hunger with water. You need a corresponding thing. Mental hunger must be satisfied mentally. This is the lower mind. This is where Satan dwells, so to speak. This is where you get his red color. This is where you get his tail. And this is also our animal nature. This is why sometimes Satan can be pictured as having goat legs. So with this understanding, when we transform this energy, the desire we have, we transform Satan back into Lucifer, or the light bearer, and it becomes something bad into something good. And the way we do this is by fulfilling our desire mentally, by plugging that hole so that we don't sink into the abyss anymore. You want to actually learn how to live in a state of perpetual satisfaction. Because if you are not satisfied, you're going to feel empty. The word satisfy, Saturn and Satan all have SAT in the beginning. So the word Saturn can be broken up into two words, sat and earn. The sat part means full, enough, or sufficient. And they all have this in common. You can picture an empty urn or an empty cup. And when your desire is not fulfilled, or your mind is focused on the lack of, your cup is always empty and you're always wanting. What I'm saying about desire is this. It can be pretty complicated to understand at times because it is good to have a desire because you naturally have that. It's inherent in all of us. So it is not a bad thing per se, but it's bad only when you put the emphasis on not having the desire fulfilled. So there's already an automatic void that gets created. So what you must do now is create a vacuum. And what this means is fulfilling the desire mentally. You cannot always fulfill a desire physically. And what I mean is you cannot have $10 million on command. And to think that your life is going to be satisfied once you have $10 million physically would cause the desire to get even bigger and create an even bigger hole because you tell yourself, if only I had $1 million, then I would be happy. In one of my previous videos, How to Master Your Mind by Thinking in Reverse, I explain how to think in a way where you can fulfill your desire. When you have a desire, let's say you want $10 million, usually our feeling goes like this. If I had $10 million, then I would feel happy. You are mentally filling the void by feeling the feeling as if you had it already. So you don't physically need the thing to be satisfied. You just need to mentally picture it and feel it as though it were real. It fulfills the desire. Because having your desire fulfilled equals you being happy, equals you being satisfied or full. But you can be full, happy, and satisfied before you receive the thing. Because having $10 million equals happiness, and happiness equals $10 million. So it's the same thing, just reversed, and that's what you must do. This is how you satisfy that desire. It's an ongoing, perpetual thing, and it's something that you must always watch within yourself. And this is what transforming that energy is, because all energy is one. All you got to do is turn it from a lack mentality into a fulfilled one. It's the same energy. It's the same thing. If you can feel really bad about something, then you can feel really good about something. It's the same energy, just used for bad. It's similar to how somebody can have lots of money and then use it for something good or use it for something bad. It's the same thing. And this is all energy transformation is. The fulfillment of your desire mentally. If you are always thinking on your lack, then this energy is making the hole bigger and deeper. That same energy can be used to satisfy your desire. You must sit down and you must meditate and you must visualize and feel as though you had that thing already so that then it can become a thing that happens to you. You want to be $1 million. You want to feel $1 million. You want to dress like $1 million. And that's what it means to have that. And so you have the feeling. And so the thing must accompany it. You have created a vacuum in which then it must all come together for you. And we say this all the time. We say the expression, I feel that emptiness inside of myself. And that's what that is. It all comes from desire. So we must plug that hole and be satisfied with where we're at. I actually asked myself the question, if my life never changed, if this was just my life, how would I feel? And I answered the question myself, and I had a great realization within myself. If my life stayed the same for the rest of my life, then I would choose not to be miserable anymore. If I am miserable because of my life, then that means outside circumstances are controlling me, and I didn't like that idea. I wanted to feel happy. I wanted to feel content. And what this does is it gives you that realization where You can choose not to be miserable anymore and just be content with what you have, because if you are not, you're always going to be looking for something externally, searching, always looking for that thing that you will never find. When it comes to desire as well, and you're afraid of making a choice, just know that there is no bad choice. Every choice that you make can have a good ending. So when you are trying to make a choice, the first step you must make is to figure it out. Figure out the choice you must make. And when you make a choice, many times you can be very afraid of the actual choice you want to make, and this is completely normal. You don't have to always know what to expect at the end of your choice. So then you must fear out your choice, or in other words, be comfortable with that feeling of the unknown. And then from there, you fight it out. You actually continue on in making your choice, because once you make a choice, another choice comes up. And choice is another thing that just keeps going until infinity, just like desire. So your choices actually do not end, but you have to get in the habit of making choices for yourself. No choice has one ending. It'll just continue looping back into itself. One choice has many different outcomes, because one choice leads to another, and those choices lead to many more choices and different outcomes. But ultimately, it can always lead to the same outcome you want. You're only supposed to make choices. You're not supposed to know the end. You create the end through the choices that you make, and the consecutive choices help you to reach the desired end for yourself, no matter what it is. The story of Pinocchio talks about this very well, where we have a desire. Geppetto makes a wish on a star. He wished that his puppet was a real boy. Geppetto's name actually means hopeful or optimism. So this is when we want something and we're very hopeful for it. We have a desire that we want to fulfill. So then Pinocchio is born. He is a puppet. He is not quite real yet. So what he must do is actually prove himself and do good deeds in order for him to become real. He has his conscience guiding him, which is Jiminy Cricket. Funny enough, his initials are JC. You can connect this to Jesus Christ being your conscience. So what Pinocchio does is he ends up trying to live his life, and eventually he ends up going to Pleasure Island. Now this is very characteristic of desire, because as I mentioned before, desire is unlimited, it has no end, and so does pleasure. And pleasure comes from the lower centers, the red chakra, our animal nature. And this is why on Pleasure Island, Pinocchio's friend Lampwick turns into a donkey, because as you engage in pleasure, your animalistic nature, as your desires dwell in this state, you become an animal and you are unsatisfied. You are constantly looking for things to do and then finding nothing. Geppetto, in an attempt to save Pinocchio from Pleasure Island, he actually goes to the sea and gets swallowed up by a whale. The whale draws a parallel with Jonah from the Bible story, where Jonah was actually swallowed up by a fish, and he was in the belly of a fish and actually descended into hell. So he descended into the depths of the earth, or just the depths symbolically of the bottomless pit. That is exactly where you go when your mind is focused on the lack of. I love the connection too in this painting, because Jonah getting swallowed up, as you can see, he is wearing a red cloth. Very characteristic of the red chakra, those lower energy centers. And it's no coincidence that that's in there. So when they get out of the fish, then Pinocchio becomes a real boy. And that's the story. You just have to transform this energy. You cannot stay in those lower areas, in pleasure, in putting your mental energy in the wrong place. Now, in order for you to transform this, you really must get into the mental attitude of choosing to control your own mentality. If you can control your mentality, if you can control your emotion, then you can control everything around you. You can fulfill the void and not look for anything anymore outside of yourself. It's a great realization that you must have within yourself. I can tell you these things superficially. I can tell you the knowledge, but as you really think about these things and ask yourself these questions, if you meditate on it and really ask yourself, do I want to continue feeling empty? How do I fill this void? Is it my external world? Is it me? What must I fix within myself? Because you must satisfy that mental lack with mental energy. You must transform the energy into something good. Many times when people get into manifestation, they always ask, why can't I manifest? It's because many times people get into the lack of mentality, where they're looking at what they lack so much. They become obsessed. And if you look at the word obsessed, the root of the word obsess is actually to stop something, to halt something. So when you obsess over something, you are blocking it, you are stopping it. Many people become obsessed with the lack of and not the fulfillment of the thing they desire. When Geppetto got spit out of the whale, he made a fire with Pinocchio, which caused the whale to sneeze, and then they escaped. In the story of Jonah, he repented and then the big fish vomited him out. So now the parallel here is you must change the way that you think in order for you to get out of the abyss, to get yourself out of that hole. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go on a trip and look for something. You don't have to do anything external. That may actually help you, but it's not mandatory. It's not always necessary. You just have to be very present and aware with what's going on inside of you, and that's all. The reason things don't change is because we have the same mentality, the lack of. So as we fulfill our desire and say, I am filled, I am satisfied, the cup that we have is filled and overflowing. It is constantly full. We are never desiring anything. We are no longer in a state of starvation. We are perpetually full, perpetually satisfied. And when we reach this satisfaction, then we don't have to look for anything. It's a mental thing, and this is how you solve that paradox of desire. We have desires, but we must fulfill it. We fulfill it mentally. A good way to do this is by meditating. We can meditate anything into existence. We can meditate and dwell on things. We can meditate the life we desire. It's the same way in the story of Geppetto. He wanted Pinocchio to become a real boy. This is a story of manifestation. And so the story goes that he went through all of those things in order for his manifestation to become real. Pinocchio became real in the end, but he had to go through all of the things in life in order to get there. And this is sometimes just how it is. We must accept those things that we go through, and sometimes we go through bad things. And when we transform the bad thing into something good, then it becomes something great. It's like energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed. It's the same way with electricity. Electricity can kill you, or you can light up a house and do something cool with it. It all depends on what you do with your mental energy. So use your mental energy wisely and use it for your advantage. If you guys have any questions, leave your questions in the comment section below. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe so you can get some more content like this. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.